Subway, the Corner Pantry, and the Argyle Food Market are locally owned by Mr. Nick Patel, who thanks the Clinch County Homerville communities for all their support. Subway, located on West Dame Avenue in Homerville, is the go-to place for nutritious, healthy food. Remember, Subway provides catering platters to feed all your hungry friends and relatives and to meet all your tailgating needs. Don't forget to drop by the Corner Pantry in Homerville and the Argyle Food Market and pick up all the items you need at the best discount prices in Clinch County. Nick Patel says, "Go Panthers!"
Camping World of Valdosta, located in Lake Park, is your one-stop destination for all your camping needs. Stop by to see your dreams of quality time with your family become a reality. Whether it's tailgating with your air-conditioned camper, taking a trip to the mountains or beach with your family, or driving your motorhome to a faraway destination, Camping World has it all. Let us put you and your family in a camper for as little as $99 per month. And remember, when you buy a camper from Camping World of Valdosta, you receive a free Elite Good Sam membership, roadside assistance, and travel assist for 1 year.
Dairy Queen is a proud part of our local communities and is cheering our sports teams on to championship seasons. Drop by before and after the game to say hello to Mr. Ash and his entire crew and enjoy the full Dairy Queen menu, including our famous grilled burgers, artisan-style sandwiches, and chicken strips. Cool off with our renowned smoothies, slushies, malts, and iced coffees. Try our fabulous desserts and take an ice cream cake home for that special occasion, or just to treat the family. Dine in or take out at Dairy Queen locations in Homerville, Blackshear, Folkestone, and Fernandina Beach. See you at the DQ.
I need to ask you a few questions. Do you look for meals that require minimum tending? Do you look for meals that are good in an emergency when you have unexpected company coming? Do you occasionally get tired of restaurant food and decide you're going to have Sunday dinner? Well, we have a solution, hopefully, for you today. I'm going to show you a meal that primarily involves the use of crock pots and the oven. There's nothing to be done on the stove. There's very little measuring. The menu consists of peas from the garden, a brown rice casserole, and the entree is a roast beef. The peas and the roast are done in the crock pot, and maybe I should be wearing my pajamas because I do this a good bit at night. I let the peas and the roast cook overnight, and then after church everything is still good and hot but done. Put the rice in the oven on a timer, and just minimal effort on my part just to get it out and serve it. So let's get started and see what this turns out to be. Let's start with our peas. You couldn't ask for simpler, and if you need to go put on your jammies to get the feel of how it is to cook as you sleep, feel free to do that. We start with a crock pot, some peas from the garden. I've put in about 4.5 cups of water into the crock pot because this is not a very large packet of peas. We dump the frozen peas into the crock pot, a little over a teaspoon of salt, and some chunks of smoked ham. You can buy packages of that, of course, at the grocery store. Instead of having to have a big ham on hand, you can get those nice giblets, and it's really good for cooking vegetables. All that's left for you to do is turn this crock pot to low, cook it for 6 to 8 hours, which means if you choose, you can be asleep, or you can be at work and the vegetable will take care of itself and be ready when you wake up or when you get home.
Carter's Fried Chicken in Homerville has become the gold standard for fried chicken barbecue and catering. Carter's also offers a full menu of other tasty items and is open on Sunday. Thanks, Chad Brown, for making dining at Carter's a family tradition in Homerville. Go Panthers!
Lee Engineering and Construction Company in DuPont, Georgia has been a part of the community since 1935 and is proud to support Clinch County athletics. The prayer of the entire Lee Engineering family is that our Lord and Savior will richly bless our schools, community, and nation. Huddle up! That's right, huddle up at the Huddle House in Homerville and Lakeland before or after the game. And if you can't make it to the game, watch all the live action here at the Huddle House. Remember, Huddle Houses of Homerville and Lakeland have a full menu with something for everyone, with prices that can't be beat. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, 24 hours per day, Huddle House is a game-winning recipe for the entire family. Go Clinch County Panthers, go Lanier County Bulldogs, and don't forget, huddle up at the Huddle House.
Now we're going to get our roast started in the crock pot. This is an almost 3-pound chuck roast. I usually prefer a shoulder roast. Those tend to be boneless. Sometimes it isn't labeled that, but a chuck roast is fine, and this is a really good size for this particular size crock pot. So we are going to lift that roast into the crock pot and get rid of that platter. It doesn't look very pleasant. We have a packet of Lipton onion soup mix, which we are going to sprinkle over the roast, and then a cup of water, which we're going to pour over that. You can tell I really like simple recipes. These are the two items, the frozen peas and the roast are obviously the items that take the most cooking time. And so you're going to get those started first. And then all we have to do is turn this crock pot to low and either go to bed or go to work. You would want to cook the roast for 6 to 8 hours on low. You could probably cook it in 4 to 6 on high, maybe 4 or 5 on high, but it's up to you. And this particular crock pot I really like because it has a vent hole in it. It lets a good bit of heat escape, because nowadays it seems as though some of the original crock pots just really cook hot and fast. You'll notice I did not sear this roast. I really don't think it's necessary. The color is fine once it has completed cooking, and I've tried it both ways, searing it on the stove and then adding it to the pot and skipping that step altogether, and it seems to be fine. The roast is going to be incredibly juicy and tender. The water and onion soup mix will make a gravy, which you may or may not decide to thicken later on. This particular menu involves the brown rice casserole, so I don't specifically need a thickened gravy. I would just put it on the side if someone wants to spoon it over their roast. But if you prefer it thickened, of course, put some cold water into some flour and stir it and add it back to the gravy that's in the crock pot and let it heat again so that it becomes thickened. That's all you have to do for this roast, and I think you're going to be really pleased with the way it turns out. Now we're going to work on our brown rice casserole. This is the part of the meal that you might finish once you get home from church, while everyone changes clothes and gets comfortable, or you might do it once you're home from work. But this is sort of the only part that is really last minute to be dealt with. Couldn't be simpler. We take a cup of white rice, pour it in a greased casserole, a cup of Campbell's beef broth, and a cup of Campbell's French onion soup. A half a stick of butter. The original recipe called for a full stick, and you certainly might choose to use that much. I just thought it was a little on the buttery side, so I backed off to around a half a stick. Give it a little bit of a stir so that the rice and the soups are blended, and then we are just going to put it in a 350-degree oven. It's going to bake in about 45 minutes. Okay, the rice is going to be done in about 45 minutes. You might want to give it a stir once or twice during the baking time so that the onions are distributed throughout the dish, but if you forget to do that, it's okay. You'll know that the dish is ready when all the liquid has been absorbed and you can tell that the grains of rice have plumped up a bit. So at this point, unless you're going to add a bread, your meal is done. All you have to do is pull this out of the oven, put everything out on the table, and you are all set. And you have really not had to work very hard to pull this meal together. All you have to do after that point is accept compliments, I hope.
Jeri Js is the best Boston butts and ribs around. Meat so tender and tasty that it practically melts in your mouth. We have a variety of home-cooked meals and the best breakfast in town. And don't forget about our barbecue sandwiches. Jeri Js can cater your event and looks forward to serving you in Homerville, Waycross, and Douglas. Oh yeah, if you can't make it to the game, drop by Jeri Js in Homerville to watch the game live on CreekboxTV while you enjoy one of the many items on our menu. Go Panthers!
At Burt CPAs, helping small businesses with their accounting needs is our business. We have offices in Homerville, Waycross, Alma, and Baxley. Burt's professionals are ready to serve you no matter your location. We are your team for accounting, bookkeeping, tax, and financial advice. In Homerville, call firm partner Adam Toll, 912-490-7142. Since 1972, Popeyes has been serving up mouth-watering, delicious, hot, and mild fried chicken and chicken tenders from its Louisiana kitchen. You know about our great chicken, but have you tried our tasty seafood? All of our menu items come with a Southern style all their own. On your way to or after the game, stop by Popeyes and remember we can handle all your special event catering needs. Conveniently located on Memorial Drive in Waycross, Popeyes puts a piece of Louisiana in every single meal.
I think we will work on a dessert. This is something you could have done the evening before because it's a lemon icebox pie, which means you're going to be making the pie, putting a meringue on top, but then that meringue has to bake, of course, and then the entire pie needs to be chilled for several hours before you serve it. This is a recipe my grandmother in Tennessee used to make when I was a small child, and it's one of the few flavors from my childhood that I can recall that the product in the current time tastes exactly the way I remember it. There's so many other things that I never can recapture that exact same flavor, but I think this lemon icebox pie is one of those few things that does seem to taste exactly as I remember it from my childhood. Again, it's very simple, very quick and easy to do. I have put 2 egg yolks in the bowl here. We're going to mix those briefly with an electric mixer. You just want them to be a little bit frothy. And I have juiced several lemons. Lemons don't seem to be very juicy lately. It took probably 5 lemons to get a half a cup of lemon juice. But we're going to add that to the egg yolks. And then we're going to put in a can of condensed milk. The grocery, for some unknown reason, didn't have regular. This happens to be fat-free, which I have never used. I have no idea how that is going to turn out, but that's what we have. And the key is it is sweetened condensed milk, and it looks just as rich as the one that does have a high fat content. So it's probably going to be just fine, especially since it isn't baked for a lengthy period of time. Try to get all this out of the can. Okay, and we're going to use the mixer again to get all that really well blended. Okay, we have that blended well. Now we're going to add some lemon zest. This was the juicer, obviously, that I used to juice those lemons, and I saved the spent lemons because I need some of that peeling. If you don't have a zester, you can use the fine surface of a box grater or some other type of grater that you may have, but this zester works really well. All you're doing is grating off the top layer of the skin of that lemon. You don't want to get any lower than that outer surface because then what's below is very bitter. So this is just the outer surface of the skin, and it really gives that lemon a kick. It really gives the flavor quite a boost. We're going to use about a teaspoon. I got a seed jumped in there with it, but that's all we need for this. We'll add that to our bowl and try to distribute it around. It sometimes wants to clump a little bit, so try to distribute it through the bowl so that the mixer can get it blended all the way through the filling. Okay. Now we are going to put our filling into a graham cracker crust. I've noticed the stores have started having this slightly larger crust. It says it has 2 extra pieces. The downside is with this particular recipe, it doesn't seem to fill it very full, but it still works fine. You don't want a pan so large that your filling is lost in it and that your meringue doesn't stand nice and high, but this seems to work fine. Just pour the filling into the crust, just the way it is already. And we used, as I mentioned, 2 egg yolks in the pie filling, but our meringue takes 3 egg whites. And you want to be sure not to slip that 3rd yolk into your pie filling. I did that a time or 2, and I found that it seemed to make the pie filling really watery. So I didn't care for that effect at all. So just use the 2 yolks in the filling, but be sure that you use 3 whites for your meringue. We're going to start this again with the mixer as soon as I change out the beaters. We don't want to mix our filling and our egg whites, so give me just a minute.
Homerville Feed and Seed can provide nearly all of your farming-related needs, including seed, corn, bulk fertilizer, herbicides, insecticides, and a large variety of other farm products. Evalie and Nick want to remind you that you do not have to shop out of town to find the lowest prices. Our prices are as low or lower than any of those out-of-town companies. Come by and let the friendly staff at Homerville Feed and Seed help you select the farm products you need at the lowest prices around. Luntz, Brown, Peagler, and Manley Insurance Agency is locally owned, has been a part of the Homerville, Clinch County community for many years. Jeff Brown and Eric Luntz make it a priority to know their clients on a personal basis and take pride in customizing insurance coverage for the particular needs of each customer. They offer all lines of insurance, including auto, home, business, life insurance, annuities, and bonds. Luntz, Brown, Peagler, and Manley Insurance Agency, East Dame Avenue, Homerville. Go Panthers!
We've changed to a fresh set of beaters and we're all set to make our meringue. These are the 3 egg whites that you got earlier from the eggs that you used in the pie filling, and I see just a small piece of shell that we need to fish out too before we get started. And it doesn't want to cooperate and come up. There we go. All right, we're going to start beating at a really high speed. You need to use a small, fairly steep bowl so that the egg whites can have the maximum amount of beating. You wouldn't get as much bulk from your meringue if you used a lower bowl where the egg whites could spread out. So if you have a bowl that's more of this shape, I'd use that. You can see that the air has whipped into the egg whites. They've begun to turn white, and fluff up. That's what you're looking for. Now we're going to add a half a cup of sugar. Some recipes will call for less. I tend to prefer a sweeter meringue. A lot of recipes will also call for using cream of tartar in your meringue. I think it's supposed to make it more stable. I've honestly never been able to tell the difference with or without, so I just use the sugar and the egg whites. So let's blend this in until the sugar has an opportunity to dissolve. You can see that we've beaten the egg whites until they will now hold their shape. They'll form peaks, and that's exactly what you're looking for. We've also beaten long enough that the sugar has had time to dissolve. All you need to do now is take that meringue by heaping spatulafuls and distribute it around on top of your filling. I don't know what the secret is to creating sugar droplets, but very often I try to leave the meringue in until it's nice and brown. We're going to be putting this in a 325-degree oven, and you just let it stay there and bake until the meringue has a nice brown on the peaks. And I'm not sure what the formula is, I'm not sure what the secret is, but sometimes the meringue the next day will form sugar droplets, and that's another memory from childhood that I like. I like it when it does that, but I don't always know how to achieve it. We're being really careful here to take the meringue all the way to the crust. If you do that and create a sort of seal between the meringue and the crust, then it won't shrink and pull away from the crust as it bakes and dries out just a bit. We're going to try to create some nice peaks and some different texture on the surface as soon as we get the seal done around the border, but it's really important to remember to do that first. And then to get some nice peaks, just lift your spatula in one direction and then the other, just alternate, or you can go all in the same direction. That's your choice. But that will give you some nice peaks if you've beaten the egg whites long enough that they really stand and hold shape and hold peaks. Obviously the peaks will be the first thing to turn brown as the pie stays in the oven for a few minutes. Okay, we're going to stop with that. We've preheated the oven to 325. Let's put it in the oven. And we'll just set the timer, but it's generally about 25 minutes before you see the really nice browning on the peaks. And sometimes, depending on how long it takes to get the level of browning that you want, your meringue will even take on a slight crunch, which I think is a nice effect as well. So we'll set the timer and just wait for that pie to come out. Our timer has gone off and it's telling us that the brown rice is ready. Let's get it out of the oven. Okay, and you can see that I probably didn't stir it enough because some of the onion is not blended into the rice, but you can see that all the liquid has been absorbed and the rice is nice and fluffy. And so it is obviously ready to serve. There you go. We're going to just cover this with foil until the peas and the roast are ready. But we're getting closer and closer to being ready to serve this meal that hopefully was pretty trouble-free for you. Our dessert is ready. The timer's going off and I think our meringue is nice and brown. Let's pull it out of the oven and see. Yep, we're all set here. You can see the peaks on the meringue have a nice brown to them. Now all we need to do is let this cool just enough that we can put it in the fridge. We'll cover it with the plastic cover that comes with these graham cracker crusts and chill it preferably overnight. Then you know it's ready to serve. So if you've done this and your roast and your peas the night before, all you lack the day of is the brown rice casserole and any bread that you might want to serve with the meal. So we're going to give this a few minutes to cool and pop it in the fridge to chill. Okay, our meal is ready. And as you can see, with a minimal amount of effort on your part, that's probably the best part. Our roast is juicy and extremely tender, so much so that a lot of it fell apart as I took it out of the slow cooker. The brown rice is ready. The peas are also very tender because they cooked for a number of hours. You can see that they've turned brown. In fact, this is really a fairly brown looking meal. I would add a pretty green vegetable or a green salad on the side just to give you some color. If you wanted to add a bread, of course, that would work. And our dessert is all ready. There's at least some color coming from the lemon pie. I hope you'll try this meal. It's super easy, super flavorful, and I think you'll really enjoy the fact that you don't have to tend it and spend a lot of time in prep. Hope you enjoy.